what's undeniable is whether this shooting was intentional or not, or was a deep state thing or not, which I don't think the jury's in. I think the jury's still out. I do think that the Democrats have 100% gone into a different gear now. And they're like, okay, we're not effing around. We have to get Biden to step down. So he obviously last week, he had Clooney, who was his chief funder, stop backing him. Obama's becoming more and more vocal, whereas previously he said we need unity. And all the leadership are against him. So they've made their move. They know where the Republicans are. They know the vice president, importantly, because that is a key part of all of this. And they're like, okay, now we need to put our A-team out there. I really think now they're literally in desperation. They're going to go for their best debater for the president, so potentially Gavin Newsom. I really do.
They can't.
California is going to.
They can't go for Gavin.
They're going to
have a white male.
Yeah.
This is a party. This is a party which has got itself into a quota swamp.
Especially now, with Kamala as
no, they would go. They would go for a white male if they thought it could win the election. They're desperate. They would do it.
Well, they would if they thought it could. But the truth is, if you replace Kamala, who is got a little bit of a black ancestry, not much, and she's a woman, which is indisputable. Okay, if she is bumped for a white male, most blacks and most women will still vote for the Democratic ticket. But 10%, 5% are those two biggest voting blocks will say, I'm staying home. You got rid of a black female for a white male. You only need 5% of the blacks and 5% of the women to do that. Trump's won. So this is why I think there's only two options here, Kamala or Michelle.
And I also, as mentioned earlier, I think one of the problems that we see both there and here, like you can't get overconfident, is the problem. And this is really only, as you mentioned, developed over the last 10 or 20 years where people have become embedded. I am a Labor, my father voted Labor, and I'm going to vote regardless of what's happening. And, you have that on the Liberal and the Labor front because they're the two major parties. Even though more and more people are turning towards the minor parties, they're looking for other answers, there are other solutions. There's a very large part of the community that just don't want to get involved in politics or don't understand it when they try, and they just go, this is how I do it and this is what I'm going to do. And again, that's where, as you mentioned, we can't become overconfident. Now, yes, there can be a swing, and we're hoping there will be, and it's looking good, but you can't be overconfident because of those people who aren't being proactive in the process.
What we didn't know previously, and I don't think it's still certain yet, was that Kamala's team actually wanted to actually become the president. It wasn't clear that they couldn't actually cut a deal with her where, for example, she takes, what's better than the presidency? Maybe, what's an equivalent or slightly under so that they can win the election, but also they let her down easy. Putting on the Supreme Court.
Governor of California.
But I reckon Supreme Court's most likely, but Governor of California, absolutely. And I do think there's a version of this where she wants Biden to step down, which is clearly what she's done, and it's a fact. And where they're actually like, okay, well, what's our superior ticket?
Yeah.
Well, our best debater is Gavin Newsom. It's beyond a shadow of doubt, he is their best debater. He won a debate where he had all the facts against him with Ron DeSantis, who was basically the number 2 of the Republicans, other than Haley. And so when I look at that and I look at this, the way this is panned out, they are going to, if they are serious about this election, because it's perfectly possible they're not serious about this election. It's perfectly possible they're like, you know what, there's no way we can win this. The man was shot. Everyone's galvanizing behind him. It's perfectly possible they're just like, you know what, we'll miss this one. But I don't think they can afford to.
Well, they can't.
I don't think they can. And I think they'll put their A-team. And that's why I think they'll put their A-team.
Well, they know they can win it, though.
They can't go with Kamala.
They are frightened of a Trump presidency because they are frightened that Trump will do to them what they did to him, which is endless legal scandals. Now, they couldn't get Trump on anything. They had to... imagine being in business for 60 years and they went through absolutely everything and they couldn't find a thing. Okay, they had to make up obvious garbage.
Yeah.
Now, so I think Gavin Newsom would probably be, in terms of who would be a good president, look, he looks like a president of the United States. I agree with that. But I think that his plan will be, I think he quite likes the speculation, but I think he'll be looking at 2028. But I think the Democrats are absolutely not going to say, oh, well, we've accepted we've lost this.
Yeah.
They're worried about going to jail. They've done so many extremely corrupt things against Trump And they now Trump, when he got elected in 2016, one of the first interview he gave was with 60 Minutes. And Trump had said a million times, lock her up, lock her up. He's asked on 60 Minutes, what are you going to do? And Trump just said, oh, look, that was all in the campaign. Let's move on. We're going to put all the business behind us. We're not going to do anything. We're not going to do anything. And I think the Democrats looked at that and said, oh, that's cool. Okay, if you're not going to do us, we'll do you.
Yeah.
And I also worry if they do get to the point where they realise that they are actually going to lose, they're going to plant landmines all around the bureaucracy. So that when Trump comes in, this is going to blow up and make Trump look bad. So I tell you who I'm very impressed with in Trump world is Stephen Miller. Stephen Miller. He's the one who is really, really out there to say, look, on this occasion, we absolutely have to drain the swamp. We talked about it last time, but Trump didn't know his way around Washington. Look, he'd barely been in Washington. He'd walked off Fifth Avenue. He gets elected the President of the United States. And he had a good heart. He had good intentions. But the people around him were 50-50. He had some good people, some swamp creatures.
He trusted the wrong people.
On this occasion, I think he's become a political person very, very quickly, and I think he now will know his way around Washington.
To quote Winston Churchill, men who ride wild tigers dare not dismount. And that's precisely what the Democrats don't want to do. They don't want to dismount the wild tiger of a gamed legal system, which they've been aiming at Trump, because as soon as you get off, it turns on you. And that's precisely what John's been saying, and they are scared stiff. And that is why I think we want to be careful at overestimating the extent to which they're going to care about keeping a DEI hire in that particular role. The only thing I would say would rule out Newsom is not that he's white or a man, is that there's just so much ammunition against him on the state of California.
That's a good point.
Now, John is correct. They will lose maybe 5, maybe 10% of voters if they don't go with a DEI, but they'll also gain voters as well with a really decent, credible candidate, and so they have to factor that in as well. And I completely agree. And it is a fact that Trump. It's quite plausible that Trump will lose this election. Like, we forget, Trump is as hated as he is loved in that country, and there are a lot of people who are going to go to that ballot and they're going to say, something. I kind of like a lot of what Trump stands for, but man, I don't want to go through 4 years of whatever's going to happen if I vote for Trump. So sorry, Trump, I'll vote Republican next time round. We just can't have you again.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, we're up to 900 viewers. I am still watching. They're in the middle of a concert right now, so they're still going. Sorry how late it is. Over there, it's like 10 o'clock, basically. I thought it was meant to be all wound up by 10.
It's their summer too, so
I'm going to keep keep a track record on how that's going. Just breaking news, by the way, for those of you listening, especially in Australia, former Premier Dom Perrottet has just announced his resignation. John, I thought you might want to hear that. Former Premier Dom Perrottet has just announced his resignation, and what that actually means, he was one of the COVID premiers after Gladys Berejiklian. He came in and normalised a lot of the lockdown measures, and with Victoria. I just wanted to break that news with you guys now. But one of the things that I wanted to raise with you gentlemen around me here is how close we actually came to a potential